because there's no way that they could have been managed outside the market. So again, what they would do is the divisional leader for the sales support teams would, if there were changes with how they're doing things or structural or process or workflow, they would communicate that and make sure everybody understood. But on a day-to-day basis, they would work with the local teams. But again, at the end of the year, when it came time for evaluations, the evaluations were done by these other individuals, not the person that's in the market with them. There was one other position I neglected to mention called the sales support supervisor. So this person would be for an area, they would be overseeing the account planners and account coordinators. And they would report to this divisional person.
Okay.
But again, day to day, they're in the office and they're there. Also, just for what it's worth, the pricing and planning individual also would report into a regional person as well, or divisional person as well, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So then when we think about these, now that you said the word, account planner and account coordinator, what would happen if, again, for instance, say take Ford or Mercedes, you guys had, different, regional, different regions or different divisions, interacting with the same overall company at different levels. What was the coordination between that like?
If it was between different regions, there really was none. I mean, because the advertisers would come into the market and have different parameters for, say, Kansas City versus St. Louis. They may come to St. Louis with a certain cost per point, which is, the way they evaluate, each rating point would be a certain amount of dollars. And they may have one, and so say they have a cost per point of $250, and they've got, 200 points a week. And in St. Louis and in Kansas City, they may have $185 a point, and they're buying 150 rating points. So it's different. And the two sales teams, I mean, if something came up where it was coming out of the same, for example, the Mercedes group you're talking about, if it's Mercedes, they may say, hey, what kind of rate are you getting here? What kind of rate are we getting there? But generally speaking, they would just operate autonomously and just focus on their own area. Now, if it was a big account that we knew that we can get a regional audience, a regional buyer, if we can get an audience with them, we would go to them and try to sell them, combined, buy us here in Kansas City and St. Louis, and we'll, give us more money and we'll make it worth your while, that sort of thing. That kind of thing also happened on rare occasions. There was a couple of big car dealer groups that would be buying, they had, let's say, 20, 30 car stores throughout covering maybe 4 or 5 of our markets. We might go to the actual owner of all of the car stores, the 30, 40 places, and speak to the owner, the advertising marketing leader, and talk to them about, trying to secure more dollars and a greater dollar commitment for the group of markets, rather than letting each one go in and do it on their own.
Okay. And how would you determine when you had to kind of go together versus just run autonomously?
There was no fixed set way. It was basically, we would look at, situations. That would be candidly the job of the regional sales manager, to discover commonalities between markets. So whether it's, you would see, hey, I got this, your name here, car dealer in 3 stores in Kansas City, and they got 4 stores in St. Louis. We ought to talk to these guys about their 7 stores and see if we can get more money. So that would be something that the regional sales manager would identify, and or the auto sales manager would know that, because the auto sales manager is in both markets. So in the case of the guy, so he or she would go, hey, wait a minute, we got a bunch of these stores here. We ought to let's pull them together. And then realize that, hey, there's some others in a different region. Let's call that regional auto guy and that regional vice president and talk to them about, let's come up with a coordinated plan to try and capture more of their advertising dollars.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So then, in the time that we have, Dean, I think we have about 5 minutes left. I'd love to hear, what did you think that Spectrum Reach's greatest strength was competitively to win advertising?
Well, I mean, one of the uniquest things that Spectrum has versus, again, where they're competing with TV and radio and digital. The beauty of what they have is, especially, and as luck would have it, 2 of my biggest markets were St. Louis and Kansas City, which both happen to be sitting on the border of two states, Missouri